a group of guys with him and to the Lapeer meeting, and then he's helped start a new group up here in Carroll, and which is it's coming up on its 3rd month. So we'll have Bob give an update. 5th month. We'll have Bob give an update. Time flies, and but Bob give an update on that. But I want to talk about down in Lapeer, since we've been going about 9 months now. We're actually branching off, and we're doing 2 new things. We've got the regular support group that's still productive, but we always have between 5 and 10 people show up. And these are veterans with talking that we had a guy 2 meetings ago that was talking about nightmares. Okay, so we've got him referred over to CMH to get some additional assistance. Well, we're doing 2 new groups. The first one we're going to do is.
People are watching.
Oh.
We're live. So you can't go to.
Okay.
So bossy. Okay. Directing them.
Okay, I've been redirected. We're going over here. Okay, we're doing a group in the county jail, and we know that there are veterans who are incarcerated, and they can't come out to get to our meeting, so we're going to bring the meeting to them. And so we're working with some people to make that happen. The undersheriff at the jail. So that'll be coming this summer in Lapeer. If that's successful, we want to roll that out and do that in all the counties because we know that there are veterans with issues, and obviously if they're incarcerated, they've got even more issues than most veterans. So we need to reach out and try to help them. We're also expanding and going to be doing veteran groups with the Lapeer Community Mental Health. And I've got an individual I want to introduce, Adam Horsky. Adam's a veteran, and he's also a therapist over at Community Mental Health. He helps us facilitate our veteran groups, and he's the one that's going to get the CMH group off the ground. So Adam, if you'll stand up over to the podium and talk for a minute on the CMH group.
Thanks, Paul. Like Paul said, my name is Adam, and I work for the Lapeer County CMH. What we're doing there is basically, and it kind of falls in line with everything else that Paul's been doing with the groups, is we're identifying veterans, not only through the groups that we're having, but within the CMH program. And if they're already receiving help there, this group that we're going to be having, which will meet on a weekly basis with the hope of, say they're already in the group or they're already receiving therapy, we're going to direct them more towards a veteran-oriented group where they actually have veteran peers in the group along with them. So that should start in about, we're hoping 1st of May or at least sometime in May at the latest. So it's just another step towards not only identifying the veterans, but identifying services that can be most effective for them in the moment at that time. So what about the family?
Oh, and good point. And we were recently contacted by one of the family and child service providers at the Community Mental Health, and they wanted to get our assistance to start up a support group for the families of veterans. And that was something that we had had as an agenda item, but we weren't ready to do that yet. So we're going to combine forces with Community Mental Health and assist them kind of act as consultants and help get that group started as well. So we're expanding. If anyone wants help getting a group started in their county, let Kate and myself know. And we're the 2 original facilitators, and we're happy to go there and help get your group started and help train facilitators in your county. Okay. Okay. And next, Kate, if you want to come up to the podium and give us some updates, news from around the whole region, okay? Because Kate is the one that does get to visit each and every county, so she has good news for us from other parts, and also from Lansing, tells us what's going on with MBAA. Okay, please take it away.
I did not get an applause. That's great. What's wrong with this side there? No, right here. All right. Welcome, everybody. This is our 2nd annual VCAT meeting. As most of you know, we've moved to quarterly meetings now, so it's we are cramming a lot of information in these sessions, but I think that, with the turnout and with our wonderful technology options, now we're getting as many people involved as we can. So hopefully everybody can see us on the webcast. Hi, Mom. So, yeah, and you guys can bear with us as we, implement this technology, because it's definitely not what I went to school for. And so we try to make it work as best we can. All right, well, as far as updates go, at a regional level, you know, with the VCAT, we're vastly changing, but, you know, for the better, I believe, not only with our quarterly meetings, but we're going to start implementing the working groups more and more. I know that we kind of touched lightly on them before. We introduced them as a way to really kind of focus on barriers and issues going on within everyone's particular field. Those fields are the 4 pillars. Again, we've got healthcare, employment, education, and quality of life. We feel that everybody kind of, you know, can fit into one, or if not, you know, more than one of those categories. But by implementing these working groups, we're not able to just identify barriers and issues within those fields. We're able to sit down and really talk about what we need to do to make sure that we're solving, you know, some of the complicated and sometimes really simple, you know, miscommunications or issues that are happening that could make, you know, the way for veterans to access their benefits, you know, much easier. So what I'm asking the working groups to do for the remainder of the year when they get together is to identify all of the barriers that they have or feel that they have currently within their working groups, and then to really narrow it down between your long-term issues that are going to take, you know, more than a year to solve and to work out, and then your short-term, which could be, you know, just coming together to, you know, create a program between 2 organizations, something that could be done within a year's time frame. And at the end of the year, we're going to be looking at those and evaluating, you know, what you guys have come up with as far as, you know, possible solutions or ideas that you have as far as, you know, solving that issue. And we're also going to have some fun with it. I mean, I am a firm believer in rewarding people for hard work. Why not, right? So what we want to do by the end of the year is to really look at the different working groups and figure out who's come up with some of the greatest strategies and methods of solving some of these issues. So, and I'm not saying what those surprises or anything will be yet, but we will have something, yes. So yeah, I mean, obviously I want, you know, as we move along and we become a network, you know, I want you guys to, you know, have fun with it and really get to know each other and what your organizations can do for veterans. So I applaud all of your efforts so far. I think that I'm probably the luckiest regional coordinator. This has been an amazing region to work with. You guys are amazing people. So I just, you know, ask that you continue your great efforts and please continue to bring, you know, people into the network and into the VCAT. We're doing great things. Okay, so enough of that. I do want to, you're standing here like you're.
When you're done.
Okay,
I'll introduce the next person when you're done.
Sure thing. Okay, and I'll come back to introduce the speakers when we're ready. I do just want to explain to you guys, for those of you that don't know already, we're doing a live webcast. We're going to try and see how this works out. You know, as we move around the region to different locations, I completely understand when you can't make it. You know, sometimes geographically we're not allowed to go outside our counties for work. And then other times it's just too far, we just, you know, have conflicts within the schedule. Thanks to technology, you don't always have to be in the room. Thank you for being in the room if you are, but if you can't be and you're viewing online, great. So hopefully this is something that we can continue moving forward with some of our other meetings. And for those watching, if you do have questions as we're going through the panel and we have speakers come up and discussing different topics, it can be text to 248-978-2513. Especially if you're watching via YouTube, you have to text in order for us to receive your question. And then we will do a session where we answer those questions. If you're viewing with the Google Plus app, if you have a Google account and you're through a Google Hangout, there's actually a chat section that you can open. Nick has been a wonderful volunteer, or I volunteered him to be the moderator, but he's going to be monitoring all those questions coming in and answering with you guys as we go through this. So, all right, thanks guys. I'm done for now.
Thank you, Kate. We're lucky to have Kate as a coordinator for our region. She helps us get a lot of stuff done that we would never be able to accomplish without her. So thank you, Kate. Before I introduce Bob, our host for the day, I want to talk about a story, true story. Back about 3 weeks ago, a Navy veteran, 51-year-old Navy veteran, walked 9 miles to the veteran clinic where he was not receiving the services that he needed. At that clinic, there was 1 psychologist on staff, and there were over 200 veterans in need of assistance. Well, if you do the math, you know, each one was getting seen by that psychologist maybe 2-3 times a year at the most, which probably wasn't, which we know was not enough to provide the services that they needed. After this man walked 9 miles to the veteran clinic, he poured gas on himself and lit it. By the time they got him to the hospital, he had burned over 100% of his body and he was dead on arrival. He left behind a wife and 2 young children under the age of 10. Now, hopefully the death of this veteran will hopefully shine a national spotlight on the problem of veterans not receiving the services that they need for both their mental and physical health. And I guess this comes back to why we're doing the veteran support groups. We know that at least half of the veterans out there do not receive services from the federal, state, or local veteran affairs for whatever reason, because they don't want to, because they don't know about it, because they don't trust them, or they've had a bad experience, whatever the reason is, we know they're not getting the help that they need. So by starting local veteran community or veteran to veteran support groups in conjunction with the Veteran Community Action Team, we can hopefully get these people the help they need, get them directed to resources that they desperately need, whether it's through the VA or through some other organization. You know, the VA isn't the only person that can help a veteran. It's a good resource, but it's not the only resource. So I guess when I heard that story, as horrific as it was, it reminded me that what we're doing is needed here. So if you think you have an interest in getting a veteran to veteran support group started in your community, then let us know so we can help out with that. Okay, next I want to introduce our host, Bob Hill. He's going to talk a little bit about the program he does up here in Tuscola County. Bob, come on up, please.
Hi, my name is Bob Hill. I'm an outreach worker for ANCA Veteran Transitional Housing Program in Akron, Michigan. Our program takes the homeless or near homeless and transitions them into society again after they've had whatever mental or health problems or financial problems. We do all kinds of counseling and support work for them, get them back into the VA medical system. It's just a lot of them just need a little boost to get over and get back into being productive citizens. It's a 2-year program, up to 2 years. National average right now is 13 months, but we can have them there for 2 years, and we've had a few stay to 2 years, but most of them, ours are leaving under a year. And by that time, they've usually got to where they got some money management back. They've got possibly some kind of income through employment or VA benefits or SSI, you know, whatever they're eligible for, we try to chase for them. We make sure that they're healthy mentally and physically as good as they can be. That's basically what we do there. It's a good program. We have 18 beds, but we're only licensed right now for 12. The federal government hasn't released the rest of the money, so we can fill up our beds once they do it. And we hold, and we're all single men right now, I didn't mention that. Once we hold the 18 beds for a certain amount of time, they're going to build townhouse style buildings for women with children, men with children, and families. Because right now we have a great number of calls in this slum area right now from women veterans, and all we can do is forward them on to a battered shelter, and that's not what they need. You know, they need help with their veteran benefits or whatever. They need housing, whatever. But there's just no housing for female veterans right now, and that is a priority on our owners' agenda. Once we get the release from the federal government to where we can stay in the grant per diem program to pay for it, we're going to have, hopefully, it's going to end up to be just about 60 more beds. So
Great.
And we can fill them. You know, there's no doubt about it. With the amount of calls we get, we can put 60 people, women, children, everything. You know, I mean, every day we're turning down some kind of either a woman with children or a single woman or a man with children. We get more men with children that don't have a woman in the family. We just can't do anything for them. There's no place. There's a place up in Port Austin that's a very crude shelter, and though they've got it's the old military barracks is up there, and they've let the children come in with adults, but it's no place for a child to be. It's no place for any human to be, but it's better than being underneath a bridge or something. That's about the only thing. So we have a huge need for it. Hopefully through groups like this and so forth, the federal government will start listening again and allocate the money that was promised, so we can progress on.
Hey Bob, what's the time frame right now and getting up to the 18? I mean, are we looking at?
We've been told, in the last 3 years, we've been told probably 15 different time frames. Last January, we promised, originally it was gonna go to 15 after so many months at 15, then it was gonna go to 18. Last January, I'm talking 15 months ago, we were told we were gonna have it. Then whatever happened in Washington, it got taken off the bill. So it's just, they keep putting it on bills that they know are gonna get shot down. You know, they have so much pork, there's so much other things that they can't get it through both houses, so. And that's what it is, we have to get it into some kind of a veterans bill that's gonna go through and be just as a veterans bill. I think it would go through if you listen to what the politicians are saying, but they put it with everything else, you know, I mean, it's a shame. It's needed. I mean, I travel all over this area, you know, on recruiting and so forth, and every county I go to has got the same issue. It's not just, you know, to the thumb. I mean, we go up around the Aranac area and through there a lot, and they have as much or more than we have of the same problems. And it's just whenever they decide in Washington that they're going to take and vote it, because it's already in their master plan or whatever it's called for the whole program, that we could be to 60 beds real quick. You know, I mean, if we got authorization now in 14 to 18 weeks, they got these pre-built things that they're going to see, modular type things they're going to throw in there, and we'd have people in there. And it's all zoned, it's all everything ready to go. We just need to have a politician sign the paper.
So are we staying fairly active with them? Do we have, you know?
We have, our corporate office is out of California,
Okay.
and they have people that work full-time with lobbyists bringing it up, but the homeless vet is pretty low on the totem pole as far as influencing a bill. You know, it's not right, but it's a reality. Yes, Alex?
Hey, Bob, do you know, when and if they build those condo style facilities, are those gonna also be transitional, or will that be,
It's all transitional.
that won't be permanent?
No, it will not be permanent. No, there's way down the road. Corporate has talked about that already. If this all takes off, because they're a California-based outfit, and if this part takes off in Michigan, they're looking at that because they have a whole bunch of them programs. They have 57 different facilities out there, and they have a bunch of them that are long-term housing for the families and the children.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a goal of the owners, but you know, as far as on the priority list, I don't know that.
Yeah, just a comment, and this isn't directed at ANCA, but as long as we're on the topic, one of the biggest obstacles that we find is veterans without income. And Jill and I work in HUD Vet, so we're always trying to place these people. And the apartment complexes and landlords, they, over and above the utility allowance and the housing subsidy, they want these vets to have some kind of income because they want to figure out how they get paid for laundry, detergent, paper goods, so on and stuff. And so that singles out a population that really needs help, and it puts them in a position where they can't do anything.
No place to go.
So we can't successfully reintegrate them into a community, and that's just a comment.
No, it's a very real comment for this area. I would say in this area, our biggest obstacle for the vet is transportation.
Right.
After that is the issue you just brought up of housing without any kind of income. And the guys that come through us, I would say when they get there, we're right around 80% with no kind of income.
Right.
A lot of them we've been able to get Social Security or maybe the veteran's pension or even a disability. You know, so they end up getting a little. That's one of our goals when they leave there. They're either, if they're healthy, or they're gainfully employed, or we could get some kind of subsidy money coming to them. And it's hard, but and it goes back to transportation. The thumb is there's no mass transit that's convenient, so that's another issue for another day. Any other questions?
What's the veteran population here?
What's that now, Mark?
Oh, so you had to ask,
I
I wanna say it's 5,400, 5,700.
In Tuscola County?
Yeah, it's 6,000, I know is what
Yeah,
I
it's
round
a
off,
good-
and
it's a
I
good
didn't want to
number.
lie with you being there.
It's pretty amazing, but I mean, typically the three counties in the thumb, for the amount of population, there's more percentage of veterans than most communities throughout the United States.
We have a question from online. The question is, are the veteran service organizations working on this legislation nationally?
I would say no. You know, we get a lot of, yeah, this one's doing this one's doing that, but I can never track down to when anything is actively being pursued.
Bob's got a comment.
Made them aware. You've got a VFW post down the street.
Mhm.
Okay, and I talked to you about the transportation situation.
Yeah.
If you can get veterans organization, because the DAV does transportation. I think the closest one here is up in Burton, so that doesn't help.
Right.
If we can get a veterans organization such as the VFW, the AMVETS or Legion, get them to do the program. I know the funds are available to purchase the vehicle and pay for the gas and all that stuff. But we can get transportation in the thumb area, but we need commitments from the veterans groups, and I'll work on the VFW.
But they've made it so much tougher. I've been transporting vets for 25 years. And be it through with some money from the county or just out of my own pocket or whatever and everything. But the county level controls that around here. And they've changed the guidelines for eligible drivers. You know, and I know people that drove for 20 some years and they had maybe a joint in 1968 they got busted for. And now all of a sudden after 20 some years of driving, they're not eligible to drive. You know, I'm not blaming you, Mark, for your department, but that's what's happening. And the younger guys don't want to get involved with it. You know, we've talked to, we've had a couple car dealerships that said, yes, we will donate vehicles if you can get, vets to drive them. You can't, because I work at Anchor, they can't be parked there. They have to have independent land and everything else. It's a lot of hoops to jump through. What could be done, but we just can't get the support that we need.
Support's a big thing.
But at the county level here, as well as I know with Huron County, I mean, we provide transportation for medical.
Oh, yes, you do. Yeah, you make the LUTs run all the time.
And I mean, Ann Arbor, Detroit, wherever
Yeah.
they need to go.
And the DAV as
And the
their
DAV, yeah.
transportation.
Mhm.
Which is a good deal.
Anything else?
Nothing yet. Nope. You're good.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is get started on our employer panel. And Kate, I believe, is gonna moderate for us, so she's gonna be up here. The first thing we're gonna do is have all the panel members introduce themselves. And then after that, Kate may have some questions for us, and then we're gonna be fielding questions from the audience as well. So if you have a question, write it down, and Kate will be calling on you. As your first panelist, my name is Paul Hitch. I'm an Air Force and Michigan Air National Guard veteran. I work as a rehabilitation counselor for Michigan Rehabilitation Services. And we are a state government agency that helps people with disabilities reintegrate back into the workforce. So whenever somebody comes to Michigan Works, we're located in the same building as Michigan Works. I work out of the Flint office. When somebody comes to Michigan Works and they're looking for help getting a job, if they identify themselves as a veteran, then they're sent over to Rhea's office. If they identify themselves as somebody with a disability, they're sent to my office. And if they're a veteran with a disability, then both offices can provide services for them. So that's what Michigan Rehab Services does. And I'll move on. Oh, Kate, you're gonna take over.
You always take initiative. I love it. All right. I have the honor of introducing our panelists today. So that being said, I would like to, we'll continue on down the road with Matt Sherwood. Oh, real quick, I apologize. We do have some complications with the chat via Google. If you are trying to submit any questions or comments and you're viewing via Google, you can comment or submit questions on the YouTube comments on the YouTube link, or you can still text to number 248-978-2513, and we will get your questions and comments, okay? I apologize about that little glitch. We'll work it out for next time. And that is my personal number, so if I get weird texts tonight, I'll know who they're from. Mark, not looking at you. But. All right, so Matt Sherwood is the Executive Director of VetBiz Central. He's been with the organization since 2009, and Matt is also an Army veteran. Go Army.
Go on.
Next to him, we have Rick Tuckey. He has he's been in the position with Michigan Works as the Veteran Service Liaison for 3 years, and he's got. You just wrote 22 years, Rick. What does that mean?
Total with the organization you asked.
Okay. Okay. This is. And are you a veteran?
No.
Okay. Well, 22 years of experience with the organization. And we also have Ms. Rayetta Wyatt. She's the Disabled Veterans Outreach Program Specialist for the state of Michigan's Veteran Employment Services. She has been with them for 8 years, and she is also a United States Army Reserve veteran. Last but not least, Christopher Taylor. Christopher Taylor works with the Veteran Volunteers of America. Of Michigan. He's the Veterans Employment Manager. He's been with the agency for 3 years now, and he is also an Army veteran. I didn't pick him, folks, but we do have the best of the best up here. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. If you would kindly, if we could just do another quick run down the line, and if you could give us a better definition of what services you provide at your agency or organization. Paul?
Okay, Michigan Rehabilitation Services works in conjunction with vocational rehab. So about 75% of our funding comes from the federal government. So we are tasked with helping people with disabilities reintegrate back in the workforce. Now, some of those people just want to, they haven't worked in a long time, so they just need help getting established again. Some people can no longer, because of their disability, can no longer do the job they used to do. So they need retrained to do a new job. That retraining can amount to going back to school. And for people who are eligible to go back to school, Michigan Rehab Services can provide financial assistance up to $3,500 a year for somebody with a disability to go back to school and be retrained. And that doesn't include certificates and/or college degrees up to a bachelor's degree. And in some cases, I've even helped people with master's degrees who needed to get retrained. So there's a training component to what we do. There's also an equipment component. For instance, sometimes people have a job, but they need help maintaining their job. So they need their wheelchair fixed. They can't afford a new hearing aid, and without the wheelchair or the hearing aid, they might not be able to keep their job. So sometimes when we have a person with a disability whose job is in jeopardy, we intercede, get them the equipment they need so they can continue working. So that's another thing that Michigan Rehab Services does. We help people reintegrate in the workforce to get a job, keep a job, or get retrained if they can't do the job they used to do.
Wonderful, thank you, Paul. Matt, tell us a little bit about VetBiz Central.
Thanks, Kate. My name's Matt Sherwood. I'm an Army veteran and the executive director for VetBiz Central. I came on board in 2009, and for those of you who don't know, the founder of our agency and the creator of our agency, Ed Ronders, is in the back of the room. Ed, raise your hand. Ed's the one who created this organization back in 2006, and Ed transitioned out in 2012. I took over as the director in 2012. So we're a nonprofit 501(c) based in Flint, Michigan, in the Goodwill Industries of mid-Michigan over on Averill Street. We're funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration Office of Veteran Business Development. We're one of 15 centers nationwide performing veteran business related services for veterans that want to start or expand a business. I cover not only Michigan, but Ohio and Indiana, as well as the states that I cover. Currently serving over 1.8 million veterans in the states that we cover. We assist veterans, active duty, Guard and Reserve members and their spouses and immediate family members in the formation and expansion of veteran-owned businesses. Our mission statement's pretty clear. We empower veterans to realize their entrepreneurial dreams, one business at a time. And we do that in a variety of ways. We provide free one-on-one business counseling services for veterans that want to start or expand a business. We do educational and outreach activities related to veteran entrepreneurial components, marketing, social media, advertising, anything that is entrepreneurial related. We typically do some education and training on that. Another key component of our organization is advocacy. We strongly advocate at the state level for service disabled veteran small businesses. For those of you that don't know, the state of Michigan has a 5% goal of small business contracts going to service disabled veteran owned businesses. They're not really meeting that goal right now. Last number I saw, they did about $32 million in contracts with service disabled vets. They are making some headway, which is good to see, but still not meeting that goal. One of the key components that we're coming into now that's trending very popularly is veterans and franchising. So what we've seen is veterans that are interested in franchise have already instilled in them those skill sets and traits from our military time and service. So the business model of a franchise is very conducive to veterans based on a checklist type environment that we like to work off. So there's a lot of franchising opportunities where franchises are offering pretty significant discounts to veterans to get engaged. Again, they are going to have some capital, some collateral to come, some skin in the game, but we work with them to help them prepare to get in front of a lender and hopefully turn that idea into reality. Again, we do business plan development, helping them work with their business plans, feasibility of their idea, marketing development, loan preparation. One of the things we advocate for is the certification program that takes place within the veteran business community. There is a federal certification that a veteran business can get, as well as a third-party veteran business certification that can be obtained through the National Veteran Business Development Council. So in addition to myself, I've got Mike Goldwitzer, Assistant Director, recently hired a new business counselor, Abe Andrews, that'll be doing some business counseling for us. And our office manager is Sherm Chevalier, who does our website, payroll, all our administrative things like that. It's very simple to get engaged with our organization. Go to our website, vetbizcentral.org. Right on the homepage, you'll see a red box called e-center registration. From there, the client simply clicks on that. They sign up. Once we see them registered in our system, we'll get back in contact with them, typically within 24 or 48 hours, and schedule an over-the-phone counseling session with one of the counselors that we have on board. They are, if they're in the area, welcome to come in and talk face-to-face. If they're in the Flint area or Genesee County area, but given our vast region of coverage, we do probably 95% of our counselings are done over the phone. Last year, we recorded about 450 counseling sessions, helped about 24 veterans start and launch their business, helped veterans obtain capital in the excess of $1 million. And that was cumulative, 20,000 here, 20,000 there, and also helped some of our clients in regards to obtaining VA contracts, leveraging their status as a veteran or service disabled veteran owned business. Again, our counseling services are free, open up to immediate family members and spouses as well. Be happy to work with any clients that you may have. Simply send them to our website. I left my brochures and business cards out there on the table, so if you'd like some additional information, I'll be happy to work with you. Also, I do quite a few public presentations. I was in Lansing yesterday at the MVAA doing a presentation with Len Rusher. So again, if you have a group of veterans that you would like me to come and talk to, or if you have a group of county representatives that would like to know more about the program, I'd be happy to give an overall presentation of our organization, as well as provide some good statistical information on the veteran business community. So those of you that don't know, roughly 10% of all small businesses out there are veteran owned, which is a pretty significant number. And what we're seeing here in the Midwest is corporate America is really trying to wrap their arms around the veteran business community by engaging them in their supply chains. Companies like GM, Ford, Kellogg, AT&T, Steelcase, Herman Miller, the list goes on, Michigan State University. A lot of these companies now are starting to include the veteran businesses into their supply chains with such programs as women-owned businesses, minority-owned business, Hispanic-owned businesses, gay, lesbian, transgender-owned businesses. So those are the primary DBE programs that exist within corporate America. We try to, work with those clients, the veteran business clients, to get them to a point where they can go out and talk to some of these larger companies on the process of getting their products and services procured through them. I think in a nutshell, you're going to be best served by having your clients contact our agency. We don't have a cookie cutter spiel that we give them and say the same thing over and over. It's really individually based counseling. What we do initially is kind of during that feasibility analysis is peel back a lot of the layers of the onion, trying to get an understanding of where that veteran's coming in from an entrepreneurship standpoint, what their business acumen is, do they have collateral, what's their financing situation, do they got bankruptcies, what's your family situation. I'm very candid and frank with clients during counseling sessions. I don't sugarcoat things. I don't promise them things that they're not going to get. Number one obstacle, still access to capital, particularly for veterans starting a business. So again, we try to talk to them about maybe looking to buy an existing business or that franchise business model. So those are some of the things that we work with through the Office of Veteran Business Development under the U.S. Small Business Administration. Starting in May, we start year 2 of option year 3 funding. So we got a couple more years left of grant funding with the Small Business Administration. And they recently announced that they're going to be making 5 more program announcements for 5 more centers like us. So we're referred to as a VBOC, a Veteran Business Outreach Center. And it is a national program, and it is funded by law through the U.S. Small Business Administration. Be happy to talk to you offline, or if you want, my cards are out there, and be happy to work with those veterans interested in starting or expanding a business.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. And I know Matt is such an incredible resource. VetBiz Central has been wonderful. I know when you're talking about the number of veterans that you've served, I am included in that number. Every time I have a crazy idea, you guys would never guess I have a lot of them. I end up giving Matt a call, so he gets stuck on the phone with me for hours at a time.
We do got another client, Kim back there, Kim Suchek, who is an author and has her own book, Military Resources. I'm not paying her to speak or anything like that. She's worked with our office over the last 4 or 5 years. She's involved with our conferences. She's got a great military resource book out there. If you're 2, actually now, volume 1 and 2. So if you're not familiar with her book, I strongly encourage you to get engaged with her and get a copy of her book. It's not just VA benefits. It is a litany of benefits out there that are available, not only to veterans, but family members, spouses, children as well. So if you haven't met Kim, meet her and get a copy of her book, because there's a lot of great information in it.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, Kim. All right, moving down the line. Rick, can you tell us about what you do at Michigan Works?
It's kind of ironic. I got a text right when Paul started, and it was from my old boss, Marv Piccola. You guys remember Marv? And it was Marv who about 3 years ago came to me, and it was supposed to be an evaluation of my job performance. And 10 minutes in, he told me I had a new job. And I said, really? What was that all about? Well, he had a long conversation with a guy named Rick Donovan, which I'm sure a lot of you know.
He's watching.
And so I spent a few days with Rick in Lapeer, and trying to learn several things. And so I've been there 3 years now. And what I do is I travel around to 5 counties now. And my job title is Veteran Service Liaison. So it's important to meet people, these meetings like this, because like one day I was in Lapeer, and the phone rang, I answered it, and the guy, a veteran, called, says, I want to start a business. Well, I called your office, or he called your office. I gave him the number. I called him back. He said, thanks. Hooked him right up. Okay. Had a veteran come into the Bad Axe office one time, and I said, have you ever talked to Steve North before? He said, no. Called Steve, see if Steve was in. Went and saw Steve, came back about an hour or so later. I just want to tell you, he said, I can't believe these things I'm eligible for. He was all excited. So a lot of what I do is disseminate a lot of information. That's why it's important with Jill, if I know where to send people, to Blue Water, to Brianna, or to Ed in Lapeer, or Kip. So what I do is, you can pass out these here Kate, they can look through those. And what that is, it's just some information. The front page is kind of like the applications that we have in our offices. I have Sheila here, who is our business services professional. And why it's important to have each one in the offices is because if somebody in Sanilac County calls me and has an engineering degree and wants to be referred to someplace, I may not know all the manufacturers in Sanilac County. So Eldon can take his resume and Eldon can pass it on to 5 different plants or wherever he's working. So I work closely with them. We do have a lot of our jobs information on Facebook. I do have my own Facebook, GST Michigan Works for Vets. And then there is a Facebook page for each county. So they post jobs on there. I try to make sure that the veterans know about the state jobs, the government jobs, veterans preference. I had a veteran that I emailed here about 2 weeks ago and said, hey, I haven't heard from you, Gerald. And he said, wrote back, said I got a state job. So that was real encouraging. And he just encouraged me and said, what you're doing is great. The information's great. I have about probably 400 people on my email list that I send information to, whenever I think it's real important to what they need. It's been 3 years since I started, and it's been great. It's great working with Kip and Bob and we try to, one of the things we do is on-the-job training with people is where Sheila, our business services people, will write contracts to pay for wages for someone to be trained. We've done several of those with veterans in the 4-county area. And so what I like to do is I'm supposed to have a job club, okay? An hour a day at each place. But really what it breaks down to be, what works best is a veteran walks in, when I get there or anytime during the day, I sit down with them one-on-one because everyone has, is a different place in their life sometimes. As far as many I've met have been in prison, got out of prison. They face different barriers, obviously, or different degrees and stuff. So it's encouraging for me. And that's why I sat over here in the building across the street for 19 years doing a certain job. And believe it or not, don't wish for what you think you want. Because I remember saying I was going to call my boss and tell him to get me out of here because I was kind of getting tired of my old job. So 2 weeks later, I got a new job. So this job it's great. I love it. Like I said, I travel around and I just keep at it.
That's great.
So like when I just, one last thing is when I go to Flint on Wednesday afternoons, starting to advertise it now. I've had a call the other day, guy was coming in, but last Flint in the afternoon from 1 to 4, I had 5 veterans come in. Yeah. And I met with them, within 3 hours, and it was great stuff. It was just, and everybody has a different need and different, a resume. And there's a guy who I checked with yesterday who's retired, who was supposed to get a resume done today so I can refer it to a place he used to work so he can get a job. So my job, you never know. Every day is great. Every day is different. It's something new. So I work with Rayetta. All the offices fill out it's called the DVOT form. If it's warranted, I pass it on to them. I contact every one of them. Every veteran who may not have signed in, I get I make sure that I get their address. I write to them a letter of our services. So that's what I do in a nutshell, I guess.
Michigan Works is also a great place to be work study. When I started out at OCC, going back to college, I was actually a work study for Ingrid in Lapeer and Rick when he was in Lapeer as well. And so I know that if you know any student veterans that are currently looking for some extra cash, it's tax-free, it's through the VA. Michigan Works is a great place to start. What a better way to get hands-on, experience with, the skills that employers are looking for, but also just resume building, everything like that. Kim.
Could you expand on what you're just saying right there as far as interns working? Is it interns working for the VA or
The VA work study program? Yeah, it's, the VA work study program is a program through the VA. So it actually, the employer or the designated, I guess, place of employment doesn't pay for that. The VA actually pays for it. It requires a student veteran to be in school I believe it's over 2/3 time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's, yeah, you have to be over half time. But basically what it does is it gives the minimum wage. I think when I was doing it, it was like $7.40 an hour. I think you can log up to 33 hours.
Usually they do about 25 hours a week.
25 hours a week?
Yes.
Yeah, and so, but
Tax-free.
again, it's tax-free money.
So is this, in every county, that program in every county? So like, let's say one of these nonprofits, like an intern, they could contact the VA work study program and get an intern to come in and work for them?
It has to be a government entity. And, yeah, actually, Matt, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because you probably are more knowledgeable.
Yeah, we've had a few. You do have to be a government entity. And typically the easiest way to find work studies, most college campuses, whether it's community college or university, has a Student Veterans of America chapter at it.
Yeah.
So that would be the first place to reach out, Student Veterans of America. You can probably go online to studentveteransofamerica.org and find a representative for the area that you're looking to find somebody.
Okay, yeah, all right.
And it is tax-free. They don't take any taxes out of that paycheck. So we've had a real good success with our VA work studies. They really enjoy working and helping other veterans. So it's a win-win, and it gives them some opportunity to, again, depending on the work environment, but it gives them an opportunity too to study a little bit and kind of catch up on some schoolwork as well as do some stuff at the office. So again, it's kind of a good program for those veterans coming into the workforce.
Okay, thank you.
And we can get you some more information too, Ken, and work studies. We'll make sure we have some on the resource table. Rayetta,
All right.
could you tell us about your role at the state of Michigan?
Absolutely. My name is Rayetta Wyatt. I'm with the State of Michigan Veterans Employment Services Disabled Veterans Outreach Program Specialist. My titles wrap around my business card because it's so long, but nevertheless, you can just shorten it as DBOP. This program, the company that I work for is very, very special and personal to me because I have simply been on the other side of that table, sitting at that chair, pouring my heart out, going through the most unbelievable time in my life when I met my DBOP representative. I was going through a divorce, lost my job after 10 years, no health care, nothing. And I didn't realize all the benefits that are available to veterans. You know, I've never heard of these things before. And she opened up my eyes. She helped change the direction of the course in which my life was at that point in time to bring me around to where I am now. So certainly, I consider it a privilege to do what I do. And what we do is work with veterans who have significant barriers to employment. It can be as major as homelessness, PTSD, all the way down to transportation. These are all barriers that creates issues for that veteran with obtaining sustainable employment. And for the most part, we are all disabled veterans within my organization here. And like I said, I believe that was purposely simply because they want us to be able to relate to those veterans that come to us with service-connected disabilities and so forth, so that we can be able to assist them with the processes, because certainly there's challenges, but yet we know about the program is a wonderful program. What we do, as Rick mentioned earlier, the veteran would self-identify themselves when they come to the Michigan Works location. And once they do that, they will give them this form. This form is what allows us to see if this veteran would be one who would benefit from our program. It pretty much is like an eligibility form. So basically it's going to ask about their military service. You have to have served at least 181 days of active duty time, received other than a dishonorable discharge. If you're a spouse, the veteran must have been 100% service connected. We can help them on that note. Or if they're in the process of receiving a service-connected disability and they expired, we can assist them under that note. Prisoner wards, you know, MIA, things like that. We're able to assist that eligible spouse as well. And then there's a list of barriers that veteran can identify. And, you know, we'll look over that form, sit down, discuss it. And, you know, if we are able to help them, we will move on to a more complete evaluation that consists of a comprehension assessment. And for those that we cannot serve, Michigan Works will serve them, period. You know, they will receive priority of service, you know, to various training programs, employment opportunities. You know, if funds are low with certain programs, veterans are to receive priority of service. So if you have a veteran and a non-veteran that is trying to get into a program and, you know, it's pretty much almost closed up because of funds or whatever the case may be, that veteran, if they meet all eligibility and requirements, they are to receive precedence over the non-veteran into training programs. So, you know, that's a really good thing there. Not only that, employers post jobs on the Michigan Talent Bank. And so for 24 hours, that veteran is able to go in, view the job, apply for the job before non-veterans. So that's another wonderful benefit there. But like I said, what we do is a comprehension assessment. And with that, we'll sit down, you know, we'll discuss whatever their employment goals might be, short-term, long-term. We'll discuss their education skill sets that they do have, assist them, you know, with being able to break down their military experience on their resumes, assist with, you know, resume marketability. If they need assistance with interviewing, we do all these various things here, you know, with the vet. And sometimes we have that veteran that is unable to apply for a job. There's certainly workshops throughout the Michigan Works, but we will take the time to sit down with that veteran and assist him. So basically the goal is to help minimize or eliminate the barriers altogether. I do that by working with all of my partners here, you out there in the web land, and it's certainly my partners out here as well. And, you know, we do appreciate you because I feel like we are only as good as the knowledge of the resources that are available out there. We work with local, state, county government resources to assist that veteran. And like I said, once we have assisted that veteran with overcoming these barriers, then they are job ready and employable. And that's when we work with our business solution partners, you know, whether it's apprenticeships, specific jobs where employers are looking for veterans. What we do is my business solution, we sit down, we discuss that veteran skill sets, and we try to match them with employers that would be beneficial to them. So basically, you know, it's a lot, you know, some veterans, you know, it can be a little bit easier transition. Then there's others who have extreme barriers, and it could take a year or two sometimes. But nevertheless, if that veteran is willing to work with me, I am willing to work with him, certainly. Thank you.
Thanks, Marietta. I love how your personal story relates to how, you know, what you do with your job today, and your passion definitely comes through with, you know, how well you serve veterans. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, last but definitely not least, Chris, can you tell us about Volunteers of America?
Sure. Well, like Marietta, when I first got out of my beloved Army, the first person I met when I moved back to Flint was her partner in crime, Dan Blaha, who really got me pointed in the right direction and really helped to educate me in terms of the services available at that time for veterans, which pale in comparison to what's available now. Volunteers of America, Michigan has been operating in the state of Michigan for, well, since 1896, and we're known for going into an area and serving the population in that area that has the highest need. And for the state of Michigan, that's been veterans for a long time. We currently have a veterans housing program in Detroit, 2 programs in Lansing, a safe haven program in Macomb County. We have a lot of services for vets. We also have a 13 county supportive services for veteran families, and my program, the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program, or HVRP. I'm the Veterans Employment Manager that covers the 14 counties, HVRP, including the newest area that we serve, which is this one, Genesee, Shiawassee, Saginaw, and Bay counties. In program year 2014, we helped 260 veterans who are homeless or at imminent risk of homelessness find gainful employment. And we do that through the work of our employment specialists. I have 2 here with me today, Rebecca Wayne and Mike Wilson, who cover this grant area. Rebecca covers Genesee and Shiawassee counties. Mike covers Saginaw and Bay counties. They provide comprehensive individualized employment services for veterans, and that's done through soft skills development, resume building, employment readiness groups. They provide very individualized, as Matt alluded to, there's no cookie cutter services. Every veteran's different, has a different situation and different barriers that they need to overcome. So what we do is we help them overcome those barriers, whether that's they just don't know how to write their resume in a way that a civilian employer can understand, or they don't understand how to talk in an interview. We'll help them with that. We'll provide them with those mock interviews. We'll provide them with the resume building tips. We'll help them break down the financial barriers as well. If they need boots, we'll buy boots. If they need interview clothing, we'll help them with that. Certifications, driver's license renewals. The list goes on and on for the things that we can do to help the veterans break down these barriers. And we have a very strong no wrong door policy, which allows us to partner with folks like Rayetta, Paul, and our other community agencies, the county VSOs, the VA's employment programs. We're a United States Department of Labor program that's more than happy to dual enroll across multiple government programs. That's all I have.
And they do a great job, great job. I really depend on them tremendously. I mean, Kate, may I add one thing?
Absolutely.
You know, I want to say I am very grateful for VCAT simply because, you know, we are all about outreach and what I do. And so therefore I've been able to meet so many wonderful people, find out about great resources that I had no idea, because there's so many resources out there. And certainly, you know, I am grateful for this, and I hope that this continues to strengthen and grow, and we add more partners to this. You know, it's been wonderful for me. So.
Yeah, and I'll add onto that as well. And when you told your personal story, I mean, it just reminded me of where I was back in 2010 when I moved back to Michigan. I transitioned out of the active duty Army, and I found myself without a job, barely making rent. You know, I wasn't in school. I had a brand new baby. I was a single mom. So it's, you know, and Michigan Works is right down the street. It took me 6 months, maybe more, to get down there because I was on the World Wide Web looking for resources. You know, as so many veterans scramble to do. And it's really about the people in your community and the people that know the networks. And figure, you know, once you figure that out and you have that sit down and you make that, you know, personal contact with that person that says, this is what you need to do, this is where you're going to get started. I mean, within a couple of months, I was enrolled in school. I was a work study for Michigan Works. You know, I started working, and you know, I was fortunate enough to end up here, you know, helping veterans here today for the state of Michigan. So it's. And so many of us do end up, you know, finding ourselves in the veteran community, giving back to veterans. Because once you do understand, you know, the networks and understand more about the resources, you want to help out your fellow veterans, you know, make it as easy as possible so that they don't have to go through the same struggles. But that's why it's so imperative that the network is flawless, and we can get them to the right people without having to navigate all this red tape and to get lost in this, you know, wild, crazy map of resources. So. All right, with that, let's go into some questions. I'm sure we've got some good ones. Nick, how are you doing over there on the YouTube? We're good? Okay. First question is for, let me see, Matt with VetBiz Central. Okay, so what is the startup success rate of veterans currently for veteran-owned businesses?
There really isn't a success rate. It's very individually based. I would say that the successes are few based on the passion that level of veteran brings when they're coming in to talk to us. I would say for every 20, let's just say simply, for every 10 clients that I work with, one might start their business. And that's the reality of the situation. I can't train, teach, or instill passion in people. I can't change past credit history and performance. And those are some, indeed, the barriers of going into entrepreneurship. If you think you're going to start a business as a veteran and get a loan for $150,000, $200,000, It's not going to happen. So we work very closely talking with them about how to bootstrap their business. And you've got to have your own money in the game. So the successes are not as many as you would think. So I do focus my efforts on the clients that have demonstrated passion to me, that come to me with a business plan, that come to me with a decent credit score and a strong foundation of knowledge of what they're setting out to do. It's important that when you're starting a business, you go into a business that you know something about, that you have experience in doing, something you're good at, whether that's mechanical, barbering, whatever it may be. But you've got to have some experience, knowledge, and know-how in the industry that you're setting out to launch a business in. And if you look at it from a lender's eyes, lenders aren't really inclined to give money to someone who really hasn't done anything in that particular industry or has a resume that articulates to that lender that they have the ability, capability, and capacity to launch that business. So those are some of the things that we talk about during a feasibility counseling session.
Okay, and we'll stay with you because I've got a couple more questions. I think you already answered this one. Where are the best opportunities for veterans looking to start a business? I know you talked about contracting and franchising. Is there anywhere else that you'd recommend for veterans that are looking to start? One of
the things that we see trending now is the food truck industry. It's very popular, as well as those military men and women that are transitioning out. A lot of them are going into consulting business. Maybe you had an area of expertise in the service, whether it's logistics, IT, security, those types of industry where you can go out and be a consultant and work with private corporations throughout the country.
Great.
If I could add something, for veterans with disabilities, if they qualify for services through Michigan Rehab Services, and they are interested in starting a small business, there is some, not a lot of money, but there is some money available through our organization to help people start small businesses. That is an option, an employment option they have is being self-employed. That's one of the things we're allowed to assist with. So.
And if you're eligible for vocational rehab, I've gone through that program. When I went through it, they didn't have an entrepreneurial portal. They do now. So if entrepreneurship is something that you're interested in and you're already engaged in voc rehab, I'd encourage you to circle back with your counselor and talk to your counselor about what your idea is. And I'd be happy to work with that veteran and work not only with the VA voc rehab counselor to ensure that this veteran has what it takes to launch.
Great.
We got a couple of questions back there. I don't know if you want to do those. Or...
Yeah, we have some residents, maybe one every so often, who is thinking about maybe getting into a business and something they've done before that they think they can make some money. I told them to referred them to your organization. I told them they will at least, I hope I'm not misrepresenting you, they will at least show you how to put a business plan together. So would you be open to that, even if a resident didn't have the capital, didn't have the money, but at least they could develop a plan and have you critique it so they could at least have a plan in front of them, giving them information that says, wow, there's a lot here.
Yeah.
Because so many of them think, Biz Central, I'm going to get a loan for $10,000 to start my business, and that's not going to happen.
You're exactly right. And I've come across, with the help of our Michigan Small Business Development Centers, about a 2-pager template for putting a business plan together. Some real short, simple items that you need to put into some categories. What's your industry? What's the market? Who are your customers? I try to get them thinking 1,000 feet above ground versus ground level, and really doing some of the necessary research to determine that there's a need for that particular product or service in the marketplace that they're looking to launch.
Good. My hope was that somebody at your end wasn't going to say, show me your business plan when that doesn't have a business plan. They would work with them to develop that.
Absolutely.
And if your customer has good computer access, they can go to the Small Business Administration website, and there is an interactive template that they can fill out. If they type in the right questions, by the time they're done, it'll print out a business plan for them. But usually what will happen is when you refer people to that, the 3 or 4 hours that it would take them to put that information in discourages the majority of them from ever creating that or completing that business plan. But that's a good idea, because if they can't spend 3 or 4 hours putting together a business plan, they probably can't be successful at running their own business. Yes.
Right. But if they have a case manager to assist them with that, that can open their eyes and they can get it done.
Yep.
If they got some support there.
That's true.
What's that website? What did you say?
Small Business Administration?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Yeah, go ahead. I have the question, but also I want to just highlight on what Matt was just saying. Also threw on that the smaller business plans. Matt's also tied in with an Entrepreneur Institute. EIN is what I just know that the acronym of it. That also helps facilitate funding. I believe it's up to $50,000 for those who don't have the best credit to help them start their own businesses as well. So there's several of those that are branched throughout Michigan. If you guys want the contact information for that, you can give it to Matt or me. But and they also will help walk you through and put together those business plans as well. It's all free of charge.
You know, the SBA, not to toot their horn because that's who pays our bills, but the U.S. Small Business Administration has a lot of good tutorials on their trainings now. US or SBA.gov/learning center. And these are webinar trainings that many of these people can do from a luxury of their own home, putting together a business plan, market research, identifying customers, how to use social media marketing to market your business, just a litany of self-taught training tutorials on there that they can learn at their own pace and skill set. A lot of the colleges now are offering entrepreneurial training certificates, a 2-year certificate, which I can't believe because everything out there related to entrepreneurship essentially is free. So why do you want to pay college tuition to get a piece of paper that says, okay, now you can go out and do this? To me, send them my way. If I can't help them, I'll send them to someone in my Rolodex of resources, whether it's small business development centers, SCORE. I've got a litany of resources that I can refer them to as well.
Then my question is obviously there's a lot of funding out there for veterans to help start their own business or expand their own businesses. And I know, Paul, you were talking about that fund through your department. Does that also extend out to help the veteran's spouse with her own business?
With my office, the key factor there is, do they have a documented disability? And if they're a veteran with a disability, so we could only help the spouse if the spouse themselves has a disability. So
So the answer is yes, but with some criteria they need to be disabled.
Right.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
Yes.
Does the disability have to be rated above a certain percentage?
No, we're not, they don't have to have a VA rating. So, you know, I mean, they could be a veteran, their disability could have happened after they got out of the service. Okay.
So self-certified disability?
Well, it's not self-certified. We have to gather documentation to prove they have a disability. But the key factor there isn't that they have a disability. Is the disability interfering with their ability to be employed? To give you an example, 2 people could get in a car accident and lose their legs. Well, let's say one is a lawyer. Well, once the lawyer gets a wheelchair, they can go back into the courthouse and continue working. So that even though they have a disability, the disability does not keep them from employment. So they would not be eligible for services from Michigan Rehab Services. But let's say the other person who lost their legs is a roofer. Well, you know, it's pretty hard to get a wheelchair up on top of a roof, right? Okay, so that person now needs to be retrained to do a different job. So 2 people with the exact same disability, one is eligible for our services, the other one is not.
Any more questions from the audience right now? Okay, let's go to some more questions from viewers. Okay, there's a question about apprenticeships. Are there employers out there, and what opportunities are available in our region for veterans to use their GI Bill for on-the-job training or apprenticeships? Greta, do you want to say
You know what, I can discuss some of the apprenticeship jobs that are going on right now. And it does involve ThumbWorks, Genesee Shiawassee ThumbWorks. Right now, GST Works is assisting 4 local construction trade labor unions in regards to various apprenticeship programs. There's bricklayer, construction craft laborers, electrical workers, plumber, pipe fitters. And it is open up to St. Clair, Sanilac, Lapeer, Genesee, and Shiawassee. So certainly there are some great opportunities right now because these apprenticeships do not come along every day. A lot of these these journeyman positions are retiring and they're needing skilled workforce to fill in, to get that training under their belt and be ready to go after that 4-year apprenticeship. I want to say the laborers starts out at $15, $17 while they're in apprenticeship, And once they're done with that 4-year training program, it is a very strict program, industrial. So we're talking about not little bitty pipes and things like that, more on an industrial level. So, it's not for the faint at heart,
Physically demanding.
Physically demanding, got to be in pretty decent health there. You have to be at least 18 years old. The biggest thing is transportation. You have to have transportation because some of these local unions, you may have to go to Perry. I believe there's one that's in Flint out near Flushing, but it just depends on what apprentice program that you're going to be in, and you have to be dedicated. Some of my veterans have gone through the programs. They have made it to like the 3rd stage in this, where they're doing the work keys to make sure that they're able to keep up with the particular training for the program. So certainly I'm excited about that. There's some great opportunities going on as well for veterans who do have disabilities to employment through PECM. That's a military manufacturing inbound call center, and what they're looking for is manufacturers, call centers. I believe there's several other positions that are available, and they're providing transportation as well to and from. These jobs range anywhere from $8.50 to $13.50 an hour. Like I said, you have to be disabled. There's also programs through state of Michigan. I believe it's, what is it called? Wounded Veterans Program. Bruce Freemark, he's with the state of Michigan, and you can contact him as well. It's programs to assist veterans who have service-connected disabilities, those from past war and so forth, to assist them with some additional skill sets in regards to employment. I believe he works right now, specialized with Department of Transportation. Yes, ma'am.
Bruce does work for the Department of Transportation.
He works with state of Michigan. I forget what entity, but he works with Department of Transportation to find employment opportunities for wounded veterans.
Yes.
Yes.
The criteria for his program is 10% or more
10%.
service-related disability.
Okay. Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. She's fantastic too.
Okay, here's another question regarding employment opportunities. What are some unique employment opportunities for veterans? Randy, you want to take that too?
Well, you know what, right now, I'm sure everyone is familiar with the water crisis in Flint. There has been a humanitarian grant that has been passed down to employ Flint residents, who have been affected by this unfortunate situation here. They've reached out to my department. When I say they, I mean Michigan Works, Workforce Development Agency, to recruit some veterans in lead support roles. We have about 4 or 5 veterans right now that are in support team lead positions. And pretty much what they're doing is working at these hubs where the water will be distributed. And they're pretty much running the operations and so forth, because at some point National Guard will, be moving on out of the situation. So they want to make sure they have everything up and running. They're still looking for warehouse workers, truck drivers, fork truck drivers. There's a host of opportunities that are available right now. And like I said, certainly our veterans have taken lead roles in these particular jobs. But the thing is, you have to be a Flint resident, cannot be a Flint Township resident, specifically Flint. And you must be part-time or less, or just not working all together to be able to qualify for this program.
Rayetta, can you talk about the Vets to Ag program a little bit?
Vets to Ag, you know what, that's in a different phase right now. I know one of my colleagues is working with that particular program. I haven't had any new developments in regards to that, but that was a very successful program as well, because I worked in the first couple cohorts with Vets to Ag. Basically, what it was doing is taking homeless vets off the streets, sending them to Kellogg Biological Station up in, where is that? I can't think of it right now.
Outside of Lansing.
Outside, a little bit further outside of Lansing. But anyhow, it was a wonderful program that taught them about agriculture, tree industry, all the different chemicals involved. They were able to obtain several state of Michigan certifications, their sprayer certification, all these different entities here. And food board, everything was taken care of. They received a stipend with the program, but they learned so much. And some of my vets that have gone through the program, some of them, I think 1 or 2 are still in that particular industry. Others have gone on to continue their education. And Michigan State partnered with us in regards to this program. Wonderful ag program. Yes.
That's the ag program. What's your coworker's name?
I know they handed it off to, I want to say Jessica. I'll find out that information.
And my other question is kind of directed at Matt. If somebody comes out and they're certified, they learn about agriculture and what have you, and they decide that they want to enter entrepreneurship in that area, is that something you would help them with?
Sure, and there are grants in USDA for veterans to do agricultural entrepreneurial job, not a job, but an entrepreneurial task with a grant through USDA.
Okay, great.
Sorry to be a pain.
No, you're fine.
Well, I just wanted to highlight, since how Vets to Ag got brought up, and Patricia's probably aware of this recently too. There's a new nonprofit organization that's just started. We just sent the information to Ed. Ed's aware of it. It's called Veterans Farmers Coalition, and that's a great nonprofit that you all should become aware of, especially if you have veterans that want to start or expand their businesses.
What is that again?
It's called Veterans Farmers Coalition, and it helps veteran entrepreneurs start or expand their own businesses, and it also offers grant money to help facilitate that. Plus everything that's tied into learning about it, plus free legal assistance. There's a whole network of opportunities within that organization, and it's I am the vice president on the board of that one. But,
So you're the local representative that we can talk to about that?
you can contact me and I can put you in contact with the director of operations who can expand on it. But it's also, it'll give all the teaching, everything needed for like soil, livestock, agricultural, bee training. I mean, any area of farming, there's stuff that's involved with that. There's gonna be a huge expo that's gonna be a 3-day event in November. So anyone who wants to know more information about that, feel free to get with me and I can tie into who we need to know and talk about it. Yes, sir.
Do you know if Michigan State's extension is getting involved with that at all?
Yes, MSU is on board with us 100%.
Okay, because we've been bugging them in Lapeer County so far. No reaction.
Oh, yeah, it's Michigan, Vet to Ag is actually with us. I believe his name is Tom Smith is a part of the ag there. He's one of them that's participating with us with that, and also MSU is completely on board. They're actually one of the big sponsors of the event in November.
Who's that gonna be at?
It's gonna be in East Lansing. But anyone who wants any more information about that, feel free to get in touch with me. I can put you with contact with the director of operations.
You know, I'd stand corrected. I believe Crystal Kinsman, one of my colleagues up near Detroit area, she's going to be heading up that program. I don't know what direction it's actually going in right now, but I know that they're branching off. They've done some meat cutting apprenticeships, all type of apprenticeships with the program.
That program,
Yeah.
Yeah, we just had a comment. Crystal Kinsman is the Vet to AG lead. So what we'll do is, we've been meaning to definitely expand that program, the Veteran Farmer Coalition, up to this area, especially up here in the Thumb where there's an abundance of agriculture. I know my counterpart down in Region 7, which is the Lansing area, but all the rural, surrounding counties as well, has done really cool things with the veteran,
That's
farmers.
would be Adam.
Exactly. Yeah. So
he's
what
director of operations.
I think what we should do is definitely get all that information posted on Podio for anybody that's interested in inquiring about it further. And then hopefully we'll be able to highlight that organization in the near future as well. So thank you for sharing, Kim.
Yeah.
Okay. Nick, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so let's say a veteran is employed, but they're having trouble navigating the workplace, or the company culture isn't really fitting with them. What type of support do all of you provide in those instances, or do you know of any support, or what are your experiences with that?
That's a good question.
Any of you, Chris? If you want to-
Sure. We provide pretty comprehensive employment readiness training that helps not only with the preparation for work, but also for employment retention services. So that way we have peer groups that the veterans can come and be a part of, and a lot of our service areas where they can come and meet with other veterans who are willing to talk to them and provide that counseling and that support to help with the employment retention piece. Because I know our population in particular, being homeless veterans or formerly homeless veterans, the workplace can be problematic. So trying to help them restructure their thinking, help them with patience and anger management is really important to help them assimilate with that workplace culture.
Okay, great. We're gonna do 5 more minutes of questions. I know that we're on a little bit of a time delay for viewers via the webinar. So for anybody viewing online, if you have any last minute questions for any of our panelists, please send them in now. And we'll get them answered before the session ends. Let me see, what was the other question we had here? Okay, this is another one for Matt. What is the biggest risk when starting a business, and how do you avoid? Did everyone hear that?
Well, the biggest challenge is access to capital. Risk. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have risk. And if you're afraid or back away from risk, you're not going to be a good entrepreneur. I've worked with clients that have started and failed at multiple businesses, got up, brushed the dust off, and started another business. So if you're not a risk taker, a gambler in my eyes, you're probably not going to be a good entrepreneur, because you cannot be afraid to fail as an entrepreneur. It's part of the process of learning. Failure is just another opportunity to learn. Don't be afraid or ashamed to fail, because it's happened to some of the greatest entrepreneurs on the face of this earth. So my advice would be, don't be afraid to take a chance.
Absolutely. Okay, Nick?
What's the biggest issue that veterans face in seeking employment? I don't know if you know.
Well, that's pretty broad.
Yeah.
You know what?
What do you find in this specific region?
You know what, for me, some of my veterans who are in a different era, job search skills have not been working for quite some time, especially if we have any incarceration, added to the program. I do work with quite a few of those veterans. So getting them introduced into this new age of technology and so forth, it's been very, very challenging. But like I said, there are several workshops that are available to assist them. We do work with that particular client one-on-one, just trying to, get them reintroduced back into the workforce and just understanding the processes of how things are versus when they used to work some time ago. So let's get them acclimated back in.
If I'm sorry, if I may kind of piggyback off of what Rayetta said, she mentioned the incarcerated veterans. HVRP is also currently being pushed by a new DOL initiative to combine the incarcerated veterans transition program with HVRP to help us get into the prisons and work with the Department of Corrections and the Bureau of Prisons to work with some of these incarcerated veterans prior to them being released back into our service areas, where we can help them from the time that they walk out of their gated communities into the workforce. But another one of I think the challenges that we're looking at is employment services providers is everybody wants to say that they're pro-veteran, hiring veterans, but the reality of it is a lot of employers are really skittish about it regarding their lack of being informed on what the realities are to the PTSD, to the military culture, in terms of what these veterans can bring to the workforce. And I think that employer education is going to be one of the important components to fixing this.
And I think age discrimination still happens all the time, whether you like it or not. In no disrespect to my older veteran population at all, when they're going to interview for jobs, HR people are making a predetermination right there based on seeing how old they are and not understanding the skill set that veteran might be able to bring to the table with experience and knowledge of having those years of experience. So it is, again, I would say a pretty big barrier to the older veteran population that's seeking to go into the workforce again, or re-enter into the workforce, transitioning from another position. I would encourage them to look at GI jobs and find those veteran-friendly employers that have a demonstrated culture of wanting to help veterans engage in employment with their company.
And I have a question now that we're talking about this, because I know that, civilians also have seen this kind of boom in, I think, what they call encore careers of people that have retired and now are looking to still, be a part of the workforce. I know with veterans, do organizations like Area Agency on Aging and things like that, do they have veteran-specific programs, or do they just refer to you guys, or do you work at all with in that capacity? Or
I've referred some to agencies that are 55 and older, but there are requirements for income. It's kind of, breaks my heart when I see somebody who's 80 years old that comes in as a veteran that needs a part-time job to pay his mortgage or his taxes to keep his land, but yeah, we try.
Okay. Good to know. All right, Nick, you have anything else question-wise around it? We got to kind of wrap it up. Audience?
I just said in addition to the barrier to the veterans is a veteran that's got a felony, and you'll get a list of all these corporations that are friendly to felons. Don't kid yourself. So the thing that we've learned, and this works fairly well, is go to a locally owned business to try to get that felon hired versus a corporate business, because they'll at least listen to you when it comes to you selling them on the idea that this person was a felon 30 years ago, but he has since redeemed himself and he's one hell of a worker. So don't kid yourself to think that the Walmarts of the world are going to hire these felons. No. It isn't going to happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we deal with a lot of employers that they'll tell us that their company policy is that they will hire felons. And then when we ask them, well, when's the last time you hired a felon? Because obviously we're talking about felons with disabilities, and they'll say, well, we don't have any that have made it, that have made it through the interview process. So they make it sound like, we'll hire a felon, but you haven't hired any. Okay, so the policy says that they do, but then in the reality, they find another reason to weed them out, so they don't. So it takes the one-on-one, actually getting to a manager who wants to, the hiring manager. That's usually the best way to do that.
Yes. I have a message.
Okay, all right. We are going to wrap up.
Kate, can I just make one announcement?
Absolutely.
For those of you who don't know, the DAV mobile van will be in Burton at the Burton Eagles this Saturday from 11 to 12. They'll have the van in place and a national service officer on hand to answer questions. They're also doing a water giveaway for some of the residents there in Flint. So again, that's April 16th from 11 to 12 at the Burton Eagles on 3317 East Bristol Road in Burton, Michigan.
Yes, and we'll get that event posted on Podio too. I just requested a PDF form for that. What we will also be posting a lot of the resources mentioned today on Podio. So if you guys want to check back either later today or tomorrow, we'll probably get that up and going. Because I know that I've had a lot of comments asking for points of contact. Another resource that I wanted to mention really quickly that was not able to be represented at the table today is the vocational rehabilitation program. It's a wonderful program if you're not familiar with it. There's a lot more to it than when just scraping the surface. Ed, you want to say something to that?
I can't let the moment pass. Just to let you know, I'm the County Veterans Affairs. In May 11th, we're having a workshop at the VFW here on Daly Road. This will be in Hope Lunch to learn, lunch and learn, 11:30 to 1 o'clock. And the sloppy joes are absolutely.
That's awesome. We'll get it posted to Podio too. So if you're not using the event calendar on Podio yet, you gotta get on it. All right, because I did get a comment from Daniel Austin, who's with the VA. He's one of the, our point of contact for Voc Rehab. So we'll go ahead and get his contact information. We are going to integrate some of the Voc Rehab program into the next meeting, which is going to be focused on education. So we'll be able to get a little bit more in detail about that program. But I did want to bring it up today because it does apply to employment and what we're doing here today. So I would just like to thank our panelists for being here today and being so knowledgeable and willing to take on great questions and do so very well. They're outstanding resources and just fantastic people. So thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my other counterpart over there, Nick. He's going to talk briefly about Podio, and then we're going to go into the breakout groups.
So Podio, hopefully all of you are familiar with Podio.
Yeah, we'll talk over.
So it's our online collaboration platform, and we've had it for about a year now. The main thing that we're really focusing on in Podio is the events calendar, like Kate said. So in there, you can just put in any events that your organization's having that could be helpful for service providers or for veterans. It's really a way to just streamline our communication. If you don't know what Podio is, feel free to talk to me after this. There's going to be 2 lunch and learn webinars, but we don't provide lunch because they're online. It's going to be April 19th and April 28th, and those are from 12 to 12:45. And I'll send out the information in an email either tomorrow or Monday. So yeah, that's a great way to just get informed about what Podio is and how to use it. And I think that's it.
Great. Okay.
Thanks.
You want to?
Okay, we're going to break up into the 4 work groups: education, employment, healthcare, and quality of life. So if we could have education over there, employment over here, healthcare in that corner, and quality of life, I guess, gets to be by the snacks. Back in that corner.
And thank our online viewers because we're going to cut them off now.
Oh, thank you for viewing online, and Kate said to cut off.
Oh,
Goodbye.